And we are live. Welcome aboard to the PFG Live. Kevin is here. Welcome aboard, Kevin. Mr. Howe, welcome aboard. Rob Renz, how nice to see you today. I don't usually expect you at this hour. Let's see, we got Brian. Welcome aboard. Thank you for audio and video check. You're doing your job. I appreciate it. Did you like our new test pattern? So this way I know that the stream is actually live when I see that test pattern come back at me from YouTube. Chip Load, hello, good morning. So it's a gorgeous day here in New Hampshire, not because the sun is shining, but because the snow in the trees looks awesome. I posted a couple of pictures, and we're having a beautiful day here. So in other news, we have a great guest for you today. As previously claimed, Mr. Tom Lipton will be joining us shortly. Let's see. I had some interesting orders this week. I'll do a little commercial for PFG Stones. We had, I'm not going to name names except for, two of them I can name names. Formlabs, the company that makes my resin printer, and I really like. Rob Wren says Tom threatened him if he didn't show up. I like it. Henry is here. Welcome aboard, Henry. So Formlabs sent me an order for PFG Stones, and I, of course, wrote a little note to them on the packing slip that I'm a happy customer, which is no secret. I have the Form 3 Plus printer. Well, I get an email from those guys. So their model shop, basically, are fans. And I want to just give a shout out to the guys at Formlabs because you make great products. Please continue. I will keep using them. Cornell University. I won't say who in Cornell University. Welcome aboard to Cornell. And also a large computer manufacturer. Welcome aboard. So, what else we got here today? Somebody suggested to me in the last couple of weeks that this is a podcast. Is this a podcast? I don't know. I think you can listen to this thing audio only, and it would probably be fine. But I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to call it a podcast. What do you think? Let's see. In other news, I got caught up this week, so I'm not having a crazy weekend in the shop. I actually took yesterday off and chilled out. And there we go. So let's do a weather check. Almost. You made it, man. Good morning. I saw some cool posts from you this morning on the Instagram. And let's do a weather check. In the chat, post your state or other location and give me a quick weather check here. Sleeping Saloon, welcome aboard, sir. Kevin says, according to Cortex, which I don't know what that is, you have to be able to subscribe via RSS, so it's not a podcast. Okay. I think we may do something about that. I'm taking that as homework. Also, we may be able to convert the audio track to a podcast. I think that's possible. So if anybody has any expertise in that, let me know. I did sign up for an Apple, I guess it's Apple Podcast account. So we took a little tiny step in that direction. Brian says, light snow in northern Ohio. Kevin says, Oregon is 36 and cloudy. Oregon, cloudy? Cortex is CGP Gray's podcast. Well, you're giving me all sorts of homework here. Okay. I'll take that as homework. Hello from Western Mass. Kevin, welcome aboard. We have multiple Kevins. This is Kevin Z. It's been a while. Well, nice to see you, Kevin. Welcome aboard. We'll even let you in because you're from Massachusetts, is a little scary to us because you might have tax on you. All right. So I don't have any old news, old business, and I know everybody's waiting to see Tom. James Howe reports decent snow up in Vermont. We had 6 inches storm total for that storm, James. And Henry says 0C, that's 32 for you landlubbers, in southwest Germany. Carl's here. Welcome aboard. The People's Republic of Rhode Island reports 35 and clear. My sister's down there. Low 30s in Western Mass, calling for 1 to 3 inches. So I looked at the forecast for tonight into tomorrow, and it's just a step function of snow starting, and they're calling for basically a 6-inch storm. Almost can't hang in here all day. Taking the kiddo to a birthday party, and then he's going to work on a closing lathe. 50 degrees and near 60 in Phoenix, Arizona. Outstanding. All right, I think we're all caught up. Although I did not get a report from Robrand's, and I was hoping to get it in micrometers, in microns. All right, I think we're all checked in. I think the live is healthy. We've got 12 live viewers, and that's healthy. So I think without further mucking around, I'd like to bring in our guest for today, Mr. Tom Lipton. Tom,
Howdy. Greetings.
How are you?
Doing well.
Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth?
Yeah, your mouth's moving and noise is coming out.
I get that a lot, actually. Mostly from my clients. Almost says he's in a parka. Water freezes below 70 Fahrenheit here.
Oh. So,
I didn't think water could exist in its liquid form in Arizona.
Oh, yeah, right. So is what's a typical attendance for this wannabe podcast?
This one. So the live, as you might imagine, the live attendance is much lower than the ultimate views, right? So we've been running. Yeah. So we've been running on the order of 10 to 12 concurrent viewers.
Oh,
But sir, I will point out, as soon as your face came on the screen, we're now at 14 concurrent viewers.
Oh, great.
So that's either a good sign or we're in deep trouble.
Yeah, I think it's the deep trouble, right?
Carl says, hi, Tom.
Hi, Carl. Yeah. Oh, the little chat window is pretty small. So
I'm on it.
What do you mean you're on it?
I mean, you don't have to worry about it. If somebody pops up with a question,
Okay.
I will repeat it. I asked my viewers if now that we're on YouTube and we have the little chat window thingus, which is right there, if that was annoying, and a lot of people said no, keep doing it, because they actually listen to it as audio only and they like it. So
I see. Okay, right. So if you read them, then they get the whole thing, right?
So for those of you who don't know who Tom Lipton is, he's gonna either cringe or be happy that I'm about to do this. This was one of my introductions to machining, and this is Tom's book, Metalworking Sink or Swim, which I bought. I don't know. It was like 1840, I think was the year. I actually.
Did you buy that before we met or after we met?
Oh, long before.
Oh, good.
Oh, no, long before you. I thought very highly of you until I met you.
Perfect. Excellent.
No, this, and you notice there's like.
So I tell people to keep that in the bathroom, and That way, at least I know that it will occasionally be looked at. So,
Well, I kept it in the bathroom, but we still have some pages left, so
okay.
it's it's still working out. So Tom is the author of Metalworking Sink or Swim, but more importantly, he also has a YouTube channel, which is Ox Tool Co. I believe on YouTube.
Yep.
Just do a search, you'll find him. And if you've been following that, you know that Tom did the big egress
Oh,
from,
God.
which isn't over yet, right?
Well, no, the moving part is over. The aftermath is still in process. So it's basically turning your life upside down. So yeah.
And you're about what 100 miles north of Berkeley now.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So we're kind of east of Sacramento is the rough location in the Sierra foothills.
That's awesome. And I've
Yeah.
seen pictures of your surroundings, and it looks quite nice. It's quite relaxing.
Yeah. Um, it's super quiet up here. Your neighbors stay out of your business, and got lots of wildlife. And yeah, a feature that I'm going to add to the YouTube is Critter Cam.
Oh,
And
excellent.
yeah, because we got quite a variety of wildlife running around here. So and I got one of those game cameras that we've been plunking around in different places, and pretty surprising what you catch. So
Yeah, I have a buddy up in Maine that plays that game, and he gets
mhm,
some amazing footage.
yeah,
Well, I should also point out that this isn't the first time you've been on the PFG Live. We did an Instagram version of it 100 years ago, and that's on the YouTube channel. It was translated over to a YouTube video,
mhm.
but this is much more relaxing, I think, than the squinting at the phone that we were doing before.
Oh, I see. Right.
So you are kind of in, and stuff is plugged in and working and turning, and
Yep. Yeah, I can use any machine I want in the shop now. And it's it's this process, right? And I go down there, right? And you go, gosh, there's just so many things to do. You go, what should I work on, right? And you look around and it's like a dog, getting ready to lie down, right? You got to turn around 4 times and touch something, go look at something, and then finally you decide to work on something, and you get started. So, but yeah,
James Howe says the egress was well timed for me. Been setting up my machine shop for over the last year and a half, so I've been tuning in for updates and ideas for my own shop layout.
yeah, yeah. The layout, that's and I talked about this on one of my videos. It's you move from one space to another, right? And you've kind of optimized in your little space, right? And then you move to another space and it's shaped differently, and the layout's different, right? So in my current shop, um, it has two roll-up doors in line with one another. So the person that put it up, they had a gigantic RV that they wanted to be able to pull in there, right? So the doors are 16 feet wide by 14 feet high.
Wow.
So, and it's clear all the way through at that height, right? And so you kind of, at least my thinking is, I kind of want to preserve being able to maybe pull my truck in there or a vehicle or whatever, right? And work on it if I need to work on it or whatever. And so partitioning it off so all the equipment is kind of out of that area, right? I don't have to be able to drive all the way through, but to be able to pull kind of a full length vehicle in there is, something that I've kept in the back of my mind, right? So
That's an amazing luxury.
yeah, yeah,
That's
right.
fantastic.
Well,
Um,
it
K
hasn't been
Bonk.
easy.
K Bonk showed up. Welcome aboard, K Bonk.
Hello,
Uh,
humans.
Robin says, "Is that Richard Moore in the middle of the Berkeley lab photo in your background?"
Negative. That
Okay.
is Ernest O. Lawrence. and the other two guys, one guy, he's a technician. I can't think of his name right now. I'll find out. And
Okay.
but they're some famous Berkeley people. So, and then
Uh,
let's see, that looks like the 60-inch cyclotron there. So,
yeah. I was relating my story about the MIT cyclotron. There's a building, kind of small building on at MIT called, we call it the J building because it has a big J on the front
mhm.
in honor of the particle that it discovered.
Oh, okay.
But I got a tour from one of the guys that worked there of the cyclotron room, and there's a huge concrete wall that is on hydraulics that closes off the room when
Hmm.
the cyclotron fires up. And he was explaining and there's radiation measurements written in pencil all over the thing,
Yeah.
1946, 1947. And and on top of the wall that comes out of the floor is a piece of diamond plate,
Hmm.
and there was a whole bunch of circles, like irregular circles on top of the diamond plate, which I didn't understand. I pointed at it. I said, what are these weird marks from on this diamond plate? He says, oh, that's from beer cans when guys used it to crush beer cans against the ceiling.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I was like, that's high tech.
Yeah.
Carl says, did you ever finish the intaglio printing press you were building for your wife? If yes, can we see it?
So no, it's not done, but some of the pieces, all these projects are like a puzzle, right? And that particular project, material handling is kind of the juncture that I'm at. The side plates for that press are inch thick steel, right? So you got to
Wow.
be able to pick them up and move them around and get them on a machine and all that, and actually transport them too, right? So I got a full size truck now, and I've got friends with trailers that I can borrow, and so some of the pieces are dropping into place. So it's not dead, it's not dead, and I we ended up we my wife and I went to an estate sale in the Oakland Hills. Actually, I don't know, three years ago now, something like that. I want to say, and the person, the house belonged to a family, and the wife was a printmaker, and there was a kind of a mid-sized press there. And it was a high quality one, and so we ended up buying that, and that was a whole moving expedition in itself, right? And she's been using that one, so it's kind of a mid-size. So, but no, I want to finish it. It's a cool project, um, and I don't know, it's on the books. I got a lot of projects on the books right now, but the focus now is to get the shop squared away so that I don't have to think about that, and I can find everything. I still got crates full of stuff that I don't dare open up, right, until I get some climate control or temperature moderation going, right?
Yeah.
So I'm scared to open them, honestly, right, and see the
When do
horror show.
when does insulation show up?
Um, so w- I'll probably start working on that in the spring when it warms up just a little bit, right, and so I got the full plan worked out and all the vendors identified and pricing and all, those kinds of things nailed down, right? And I'll do it in sections, and where I place the machines, I can still get at the walls and do the work, with minor moving around. There's only one corner that is going to take significant um, junk moving to access the walls. But a large portion of it I can do without. So anyway, it's I, s- I- for those that don't know, I kind of split my time during the week between Berkeley and then here up in the hills, right? And so Monday morning I drive into Berkeley and I stay with my parents for a couple of days. They're older and uh, my mom's not doing that great. And anyway, so I stay with them and help out with them, and then drive home on Wednesday afternoon, and then work from home a couple of days, Thursday and Friday. And so it cuts into your action. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Is it true that you're building an apartment inside of a tokamak at Berkeley? Is that true?
I don't know, but I've looked at some spaces. I'm like, I could put a cot in there. That might work, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Why
You
not?
know, what's a magnetic field between friends,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, right. Just stay outside the 5 Gauss line, so you'll be fine.
Kevin Zuko says, "Hi Tom,
Hi.
long time viewer of your channel as well, and I purchased your book years ago. Spencer, I just purchased online a set of your 4-inch stones. Thank you, sir. I
Yeah,
just saw
thank
your
you.
order. Literally, your order just popped in. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it." And Kevin says that they're to go with the 4x1 stones that he made years ago. Were
Oh,
you
okay.
so, Kevin? Were you inspired by Mr. Lipton to start doing that?
What the Stones?
I don't know what inspired what led him to grind his own a few years ago.
Well,
That's
I
interesting.
think I would give that credit to Robin actually for kind of illustrating
Oh, no question.
that whole
Yeah.
thing. But and I'm just gonna say it, Robin, you kind of dropped the ball on that, buddy. So yeah, the you, he's still got plans though, right? I think he's a sneaky guy, right? He doesn't talk much, but uh,
Well,
you might see something out of him yet. So
I have no doubt. I also know that he's doing some bespoke machines, which is super cool, which is neat. Um, K-Bonk says, "Hey Tom." He didn't say "Hey Tom." I'm saying "Hey Tom."
right,
He
right.
said, Did you have time to prep some of the tools with some type of oil for longer time storage? If so, what did you use?"
So yeah, some things I did, and then I used that VCI paper on a bunch of things. It's got a some kind of volatile. They basically emit a rust preventative, but most of the important stuff is packed in wood crates that are sealed, and so functionally they have some insulation that kind of moderates the temperature swings inside them, and so all the crates that I've opened up, everything's been fine. Um, where I see the problems is on the kind of the heavier pieces of steel and iron and things like that. So
Excellent question. And Kevin says, "Credit goes to Rob Renz for the inspiration for grinding my stones." And just the same as all of us, right? I think that video was like eye opening.
yeah, yeah. My first set, I did them entirely by diamond lapping them. So
How long did that take?
actually, it wasn't that bad. I have a couple of diamond laps that I found on eBay that were are made. What's the name of them? They're called ab laps, and so
Oh yeah.
they're hard anodized. They're lapped flat aluminum, hard anodized with diamond embedded in the hard anodized. So they're basically like permanent diamond laps, although they get abused and they do eventually wear out. So I got some used ones for pretty decent price on eBay, and um, the things work great actually. And so I lapped my first set of stones this direct on those. Now you're right, it did take a while, because as you know, those stones are cupped and twisted and all kinds of stuff when you first get them. But I roughed them out on silicon carbide paper on a surface plate to get them kind of close, and then went to lapping. So
Yeah.
um, But yeah, I use mine all the time, and once you kind of integrate them into your workflow, it's like you can't do without them. And then you need
Yeah.
like another set so you don't have to walk across the shop, right? And or you keep them near the particular machine that you want to that you're using them on. So
Yep. Excellent. Robin says, glad to help.
yeah.
Uh, we're not going to, of course, Adam's here. So I will point out that uh,
Oh, Adam
Adam,
Balog. Oh, I
yes.
gotta go. I'm sorry.
Sorry, click.
Uh,
That's
no,
right.
just kidding. Just kidding. Adam
Adam,
and I have a interesting relationship. So
Adam taught us about the Ab Labs last week. He was on this very show,
oh yeah.
and it was pretty cool.
He actually made one.
Yeah.
He kind of made one, DIY it, and actually I think he brought it over to my shop and we were playing around with it, and yeah, it seemed to work. And yeah, it's an interesting technology. And then I bought a set at work, um, because every once in a, we had an optics lab that unfortunately they needed the space, so they got rid of it, right? And I captured some equipment that came out of that and brought it back to my building, which is in the finest traditions of scrounging at the lab, right? Um, and so, but nobody there does any lapping anymore, in particular, right? So jobs come up every once in a while, and so anyway, I ended up buying a set of these. Um, I can't think of the brand right now. It's not Ablabs, but it's basically the same thing. And people give me stuff to lap every once in a while, and these things just work wonderfully. And you can lap, a halfway, no problem in a few minutes, literally. And
Is that the ones you were showing that were the small round laps?
yeah, these
That
these are round. These particular ones are 8 inches in diameter, and since I was spending your taxpayer money, I said, hell, I'm not going to get the 4 inch. I'm going to get the 8 inch. What the heck, right? And um, anyway, they're quite nice, and they're different grits, so that you can just work your way through them really quick. They're really easy to clean, and they're super easy to use. I mean,
mm,
yeah, just wonderful.
neat. Now I want a set.
Yeah, well, they
Uh,
don't give them away. Let me just point that out.
yeah, but I'm the taxpayer, so I should be able to like.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. MS Live says gasket sealing storage tubs with some indicating desiccant works well for preventing corrosion.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, there's lots of corrosion preventative schemes, and the all-time best that I've ever seen is Cosmoline, right? And you
Mm.
guys have all heard about Cosmoline, right? And the military uses that, and I have seen some stuff that has been stored in Cosmoline for literally 60 years, and it emerges and it's perfect. And now they use it copiously, right? And so functionally, it's a skin that they, the sealed skin that they apply, but it's not practical for every use, right?
Do you use the Bow Shield? Um,
So, I've got some kind of strong opinions on some of the corrosion preventatives. I have Corrosion X. I've tried the Bow Shield. Um, the the two that seem to be pretty effective that are readily commercially available are LPS3, and then the WD-40 equivalent of that, which is almost like spray grease. Um, and then the other one that I actually really like, but it's ungodly expensive, is um, it's for firearms. It's a green paste that smells like mint, frog lube. Are you
I've never
familiar?
used it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
frog lube is apparently it dissolves powder deposits and things like that. But it is actually a really excellent corrosion preventative.
Hmm.
And because you can put it on in kind of a thin film like a wax, right? And and it seems to work really well. And some guys use it on their table saw, the cast iron tops of their table saws and stuff like that. And it smells good. It's seems to be water soluble, washes
Hmm.
off your hands and stuff like that. And or
I'm going
some
to look it up.
other things
Fro-
are pretty tenacious.
Frog lube.
Yeah,
K-Bog says, pain in the ass to remove. Oh my God. I think he's referring to Cosmoline.
I'm pretty sure he's talking about Cosmoline because the frog lube you can just wipe off, right? And
Yeah.
yeah,
So let's get back to lapping. I don't know if you watched last week's
no, I did.
debacle here. Well, thanks for admitting that. But we're talking about lapping, and I'm fixing to get ready to begin to lap. So
Uh-oh.
it's not like I'm not prepared or anything.
So you're looking inside the rabbit hole.
I am. I'm actually charting where the rabbit hole is what I'm doing.
Oh,
So
really?
so I have 3 cast iron laps that I made inspired by you. Okay.
Okay.
And then I made a grid pattern on them inspired by Robin, because I made the
Okay.
grid pattern, but Robin said, I got a great idea. Don't let the grid lines fall off the edge. Do an outside grid line, because I was CNCing it.
A circular one, yeah, like a
And
trench, yeah.
like a trench, exactly. So I did that. So they're beautiful. And then I ground them on the Okamoto. So
Hmm.
last week, Adam B says to me, you don't have to lap them. You're done. I'm like, well, we're going to lap them anyway.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Because um, basically you're evaluating the condition of the parts that are coming off of your lap. So you're not trying to
Right.
control, well, you do control the lap, right? But really you're evaluating the parts coming off, right? And then adjusting your technique on the lap or tuning the lap to produce the results that you want to do, right? So Adam's correct in a good, nice flat grind off of a good grinder, and you can start lapping. And
Yeah. So just to amplify what you said, and Adam said the same thing, and Robin said the same thing, which is that this process is a closed feedback loop.
yep,
So it's important to have your lapping procedure here, but your optical flat and your monochromatic light source right here, so that you can
that's
evaluate.
right. And and with any precision process, the feedback is probably the most important part. Okay. And if your measurements are unreliable or don't have the resolution, then you're just you're doing nothing, right? And and the famous words of somebody that I work with, right, is, um, "Did you check it?" Right? So, oh, it's perfect. Well, did you check it? And right, so it, that feedback loop, a lot of machinists and organizations have kind of an adversarial relationship with quality control people and inspectors and things like that. But these guys make you better, okay? If they're good, if they're decent, right? And now we see when you get down into very small kinds of measurements, right? The uncertainty goes up sharply, right? And we see this where so my famous example of that is um, the guy that used to run our metrology department. It's got a big Zeiss CMM in there, and
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of fancy stuff, right? So I wanted to borrow one of those a big tri mic, right? These 3-lobed micrometers. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's over there in the cabinet, blah blah blah." And I said, "Oh, do you have a setting ring for this, right?" And he says, "Oh yeah, that's over in the other cabinet." Yeah, 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 right. So I'm looking for the setting ring, right? And the I find the setting ring, and as I'm pulling it out, he goes, "Oh, be sure to grab the calibration sheet for that." And I go, "Calibration sheet?" And so I pull the calibration sheet out. And so what he did is here's a I don't remember who it was, a Deltronics or whoever it was, a ring gauge, right? It's a double X master ring gauge, right? And he took it upon himself to inspect this on his Zeiss CMM, and so there was some offset from what Deltronics had stamped on the double X gauge, right? And I kind of went, I don't like this, and well, I didn't like it in that it ain't right. Okay. So as ice is, it's taken 100 points or 1,000 points or whatever it is on that ring gauge, right? And he's throwing some offset, a couple of microns or whatever it was, right? And I'm like, that's baloney, right? And I know what they go through to make these things,
Mm-hmm.
and they're directly traceable to NIST too, because they have to be, right, to be a master gauge. And so let's just put it this way: I put the calibration sheet back in the drawer or back in the box, right? And
Well, the buck stops somewhere, right? And
yeah,
in the original case of a NIST traceable ring, the buck stops at NIST.
yeah,
Whereas if this guy did his own calibration, the buck stops at whatever
well,
branch off his thing goes to.
yeah. So this CMM is 3 meters long and 1.5 meters wide and 2 meters tall, right? So I get suspicious when he's inspecting at a 10 thousandths of an inch or a couple of microns, right? All
Mm-hmm.
right, and not that with repeated measurements and knowledge of how things move around and repetitive measurements that you can't do better than the theoretical, right, of that machine. But you got to be on your game, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not just
Yeah,
reading the display and going, "Oh yeah, well, hey, that ring gauge is not what it says it is," right? So
I love hearing guys say the word exactly.
yeah, that's a
We cut this thing to exactly the length. I'm like, really? You did?
so I had an argument with a customer many years ago, um, and so it was I can't even remember what the part was, but there was a note on the drawing, and it said leave this edge sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, we left it sharp, and and they said, oh, it's not sharp enough, and I said, okay, wait a second here, sharp is not a dimension, okay, and so you either give me a radius that you will accept there, okay, all right, or you're taking these parts, right? And anyway, it got into I know, I would say a relatively decent pissing match, right?
Mm.
Um, but so if you think about it, actually, it's an interesting sharpness is kind of one of these weird undefined things, right? And so you got razor blades and you got knives and you got all kinds of cutting tools, right? But unless you cut some standardized material, right? There's no way to actually measure sharpness, right? You see guys cutting paper
Mm.
and ropes and all kinds of different stuff, right? But there's no instrument that that can look at an edge and say, oh yeah, that's you know a point oh 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 sharp edge or whatever, right? And judge that sharpness. You have to cut something, right? And then
Mm.
that's kind of it depends what you're cutting, right? And so it's kind of an interesting concept of sharpness, right? And anyway, so you can get down to one molecule at the tip, right? And or one atom at the tip, and that's theoretically the sharpest that you can be, anything can be, right? is one atom's.
How long is it gonna be that?
Yeah, right. Well, they I don't know, these scanning tunneling electron microscopes. They have these little probes that are actually I don't even know what the specs are on the tips, but they're pretty stinking small. And
It's yeah, it's an atom or two, right?
it is. It literally is. It's a couple of atoms at the tip, I think. And
Not that's atom, not atom. Just saying,
atom, yeah, atom.
couple of atom. Because I don't know
Although
if we could
Adam
handle
might
a
know. Yeah,
I know so many atoms now that we have to number them.
yeah. They're like rats. They just breed, you know. So,
So, getting back to pulling this back into the center of the lap. So the concept of the lap being a tool, a good tool, but then having the feedback loop tighten up the result to match the reference. So the reference becomes the optical flat,
yeah.
and the lap just becomes a tool.
Yep.
So, you did the 3-plate method to make your
Hmm.
various laps, and I'm gonna play around with that. Although
Sure.
I've been advised I'm already flat, but we'll
Yeah,
find out.
it's when I did those, um, Robin and I, we have this kind of what do you want to call it? An interest in what I would call first principles, right? And I think Adam B does as well, right? And the the ability to produce a flat surface with basically nothing, right?
Yeah,
Other than two other plates, right? Is kind of a cool idea,
yeah,
right? And so maybe they don't have a really sweet Okamoto grinder like somebody I know, right? And yeah, right. And um, but they could still do this, right? So they
yeah.
could still do this, right? So it's going to take them a while, and
Hmm.
so I mean, literally, you could saw those plates off and then start rubbing them together and then use a little 4-inch grinder and grind the high spots and then and then scrape
Yeah,
and file and then pretty soon you're reasonably flat and now you can start kind of working them together, right? In the pattern, right? And actually produce something that's flat to micro inches, right? So it's just really kind of cool, right?
Tom, did you read the book or audiobook? And I bring that up specifically for a reason, called The Perfectionists.
I did read that book, and a long time ago. I don't recall I don't recall much about it. The name.
Each chapter was the history of precision, and they kept moving the decimal point in each chapter. The
Okay.
decimal point gets moved,
Yeah.
and it started at bores of cannons, where an eighth of an
Okay.
inch was like a big deal, and it ended at LIGO.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, LIGO is pretty impressive. Um, you know. Yeah. I mean, so people are talking about this net energy gain fusion breakthrough, right? Okay, which is really cool. Okay, admittedly, right? And but if you look at the machine and the input to get to that, right? You go, okay, well, all right, you couldn't help but have that happen, right? LIGO, on the other hand, that thing is so sensitive. It is just an incredible piece of equipment, right? And when you start we had a guest speaker at the lab when they first detected this black hole merger, the first one that they detected, right? We had a guest speaker from LIGO come out, and it was just fascinating, right? The technology and I mean, just the level of vacuum that they maintain in that thing, right? This thing's like kilometers long, right?
Yeah, not
And
a
it's
small volume.
yeah, and it's operating in I don't know, 10 to the minus 12 regime or whatever, right? And a vacuum, right? Which is like for those of you who don't know, that's like two gas molecules bouncing around in there, right?
That's
And
right.
in the whole thing, right? So yeah, it's pretty impressive. So
Anyway, that's a recommend. So the reason I brought the book up is not only because the book talks about what you're talking about, is first principles, but the audio book is read by the author,
hmm
and he does a fantastic job. So that's all.
yeah, I that's probably worth a reread. And
Yeah, it
um,
was pretty
yeah,
cool. This one of our viewers named Rob Renz says, "I've never hand lapped anything flat using a flat lap. The lap is always slightly convex when the part is flat. So make your lap flat to begin with is a waste of time, in my opinion." Now, I I never finished my story, which I've told before, which is that the whole reason I brought up the 3-plate method was that Robin recommends 2 laps, and you lap them against each other, and you know that one's going to end up convex and one ends up concave,
yep,
and then you use that in your process to drive the answer toward the goal, right? So
right. The
you
product toward the goal, right? Yeah.
drive the product toward the goal. So
Yeah,
I
you
I
can do
rec
it with 2 laps, and or 1 lap and a conditioning ring and a conditioning disc, right? But you got to have the feedback too. So
that's so from an engineering point of view, the 3-plate method is an open loop procedure. It's not a feedback. A blind guy, can lap 3 plates flat,
hmm
whereas the 2-plate method, or 2 plates in your work and getting it flat, that requires a feedback loop.
that's right.
Where,
Yeah,
whereas 3 plates is no feedback loop. It's like
right,
keep lapping until you run out of patience.
right, right. Yeah, well, the lapping rabbit hole is it's quite well. There's some pretty seductive things about it, right? And you and I won't speak for Robin or Adam or whatever, but for myself, right? Um, you're sitting there by yourself and you're rubbing away literally, right? And
We're
and
not
then
judging.
yeah, right. And then you put the flat on it and you go, holy cow, that is flat, right? And you're there all by yourself and you kind of go, this is really cool, right? And then the other part that's really seductive is when you have a very, very flat part, and the gauge block is the classic example, right? When you look at that, right, it has a particular look to it, okay? And um, and a surface finish, right? That's the other thing that comes out of lapping is these just really sexy surface finishes, right? And it's like crack for machinists, okay? So there's just something about that that's you're like, that's pretty good.
So, I have a question. First, let me just. C.J. Stevens asks, "Can you please say the name of the book again?" And I think you mean the book I brought up called "The Perfectionists." And but while I'm at it, I'll bring up this book, which is "Metalworking's Sink or Swim" by Tom Lipton.
Right.
But I think you
No
meant the
no
perfection.
lapping in that one, so
No lapping. So, uh, the if we go look back at Mr. Johansson's sewing machine,
hmm
I have not done the research. So if anybody knows, if you could just like put it in the chat, I'm interested to know what he was lapping with. Like, what was the slurry he was using, and I know it was a big secret at the time,
Well,
but
yeah, he was extremely secretive about his process, right? And I've poked around, I don't know, I would say reasonably extensively on it, and there is not a lot of detail on that to be found.
hmm,
And I don't know, Adam B may have dug into that a little bit further, but he so Adam and I's relationship is kind of interesting. Is I might open up the rabbit hole But he breaks through into all the subtunnels. He goes deep. So
Yeah. Rob Renz, this is great because there's like resonance here. We talked about this last week a little bit. Rob Renz put it well. 2 plates and a spherometer or repeatometer, which is a spherometer, will enable you to obtain flat. The spherometer or repeatometer will replace the third plate. And I think that's a beautiful statement because there's this virtual third plate, which is basically the self-checking behavior of the spherometer, which is pretty neat.
sure, and that's and I would be surprised if Robin is using a spherometer or repeatometer on his plates. He's lapped enough stuff that he can just use that feedback loop to see what's going on and make the adjustments in his lapping technique and to make it do what he wants it to do. So
I have it on good authority that Robin just licks his finger, rubs it across the plate, and he knows. That's it. He just knows.
He just looks at the plate harshly and it gets flat.
It gets flat. He looks. He gives it the. Okay, that's pretty funny. Adam says, "You say our relationship is interesting. I say you ruined my life and turned me into an obsessive weirdo." First of all, sir, as an outsider to this relationship, as an innocent observer, I will point out that he might have turned you obsessive, but the weirdo was there. Okay.
Yeah, Adam's great. He's an awesome. He's an eternal student, right? So always learning, right? And he's very observant and he listens and then he tries things, and there's no substitute for going out in the shop and trying some stuff, right? And I tell these engineers at work, these machinists and these fabricators are so fast that you can try 3 things before you got one of them semi-completed on the computer, right? So if you're not sure about your thing, then here, we'll give you a model or an analog or, we'll try that concept or that spring or whatever it is, right? And you can actually feel it and get that feedback, right?
What did Werner von Braun say? He said, "One experiment is worth 10,000 opinions."
Yeah. So one of my kind of I guess I would call him one of my heroes is Edwin Land, and who's a very interesting cat. And one of his things that he would do is, they'd be discussing how to do some problem, or they were having some manufacturing issue or whatever, and he said, "There's always something in the room that you're in having this conversation that you can use to help model or mock up the problem," right? And so, yeah, if you haven't done any reading about Edwin Land, I think there was a book, and it may have been called Polaroid. I don't remember the name of it, but it was kind of a history of Edwin Land. And I mean, this is the guy that thought of. They said this is before digital information transfer, right? And they said, "God, we can make a lens that can read a newspaper from space, right? And but we're going to be taking those pictures on film. How do we get the film from the satellite back to the ground, right? Well, they cooked up a way to drop these cassettes out of the satellites and pick them up with planes flying by, right? And
that was Corona.
Yeah, right. And I mean, yeah,
you and I were at the Air and Space Museum where they had the first.
Oh, did they have a display there? I don't remember. So
they had it might have been.
No, I believe
I take it. No, I take it back. What I'm thinking of is over at Dulles at the Udvar Hazy Center. But they had the first. I put my eyeballs over it. The first film containers that were dropped from the satellites.
Mm-hmm.
Verona Verona, or somebody will correct me in the chat. But anyway, amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
The other one that I remember, they were um, they were trying to make polarizing film, right? And um, anyway, they put considerable time and money into this effort, right? And they couldn't get consistent results with the thing, right? And I don't know if it was Edwin Land or one of his cronies or whatever, but they had a piece of this film, right? And they were so frustrated and so pissed off that they just yanked the film and were yelling and they pulled on this film and they were trying to rip it apart, right? Well, inadvertently, they discovered that by stretching the film, it actually aligned these particles that were in the film, right, in the orientation that they needed to align them to, right? And for whatever reason, they tested that film and they said, "No, it's perfect," right? So all they did was add a stretching section into this thing, and boom, they were producing miles of this stuff shortly thereafter, right?
which only goes to show you that getting pissed off is sometimes worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then, kind of back to that observational thing, right? Is kind of observing, right? And you know, I don't know who said it, but some of the greatest scientific discoveries were, gee, that looks funny, right?
Yeah.
Why did you do that, right? And then
Yeah.
kind of digging in a little deeper and going, oh my God, and there it is. So,
So I have an Edwin Land story for you, and I bring it up only because it's so close to the horse's mouth.
mhm.
A buddy of mine who might actually be watching this, John, uh, he worked for Polaroid, and he was a master machinist there and did awesome work. And he's one of my grinding mentors,
Mm,
and he did some amazing grinding. He did the molds for Polaroid's plastic lenses, and
yeah,
those lenses were considered to be some of the best lenses in the world. Not the best plastic lenses in the world, the best lenses. He told me at one point, I don't remember the details, that there was a 25th order polynomial that described the curve
mm,
that they were grinding these things to. It was amazing. Anyway, the story he had about land was take care almost. The story he had about land was that when they made the first working prototype of the SX70, remember the
oh
SX70?
yeah, hmm,
It opens up and takes a picture
yep,
and spits it out. So they had this big company meeting, and Edwin Land comes, and everybody's happy and everybody's celebrating. And he gets up there and he says, "This was quite the achievement." And the prototype was like, like this.
yep.
He says, "This is great. You guys did a great job.
But
Now make it half the thickness." And he turns around and walks off the stage.
yep.
And everybody's like, so it literally went from, on order 2 inches to on order 1 inch thick. And my friend John told me that everything in that camera was invented. There were no McMaster car parts in that
Yeah.
build. But that was an Edwin Land story. I will
Yeah.
look that up.
No, I believe it. That sounds about right. And um,
So my notes tell me that you are, and I didn't know this about you, that you are deeply into electronic dance music.
oh,
And
really?
when did your interest in EDM start?
So, um, when did it start? I don't know. I mean, I've been involved with, manufacturing my whole life, basically, right? And had to, I don't know, pay for those services many, many, many times, right, in the course of doing business, right? So, um, we have a large wire EDM or EDM department at Berkeley Lab, but in my previous life as a general manager of an engineering job shop, we had to get stuff wire or plunge EDM all the time, right? It's just the natural choice for certain kinds of geometry and certain materials, um, and things that are just kind of difficult to do any other way, right? And so, anybody that's designed and built machines or devices over the years is, I'm sure, had to procure these services, right? So there's an understanding of the capability that comes from that, right? And then um, in the job shop that I manage, we never had the volume of that work to justify buying one for ourselves, right? And now some industries kind of naturally generate that kind of work, right? So they invest in those machines and they have those machines at their fingertips, right? Um, my interest, it was basically based on a price point. A machine became available, and the story goes, for my machine, how I ended up getting it was, a friend of mine contacted me and said, "Hey, listen, uh, the guy that used to do all my wire EDM, he died a couple of years ago." And I said, "Oh, okay." And his daughter is kind of liquidating his estate, and she wants to get rid of his wire EDM machine. I said, "Oh, really?" And so I'm interested, right? And I said, "Well, what's the deal on it, right?" He goes, "Oh, you'll have to talk to her, right?" And I go, "Well, can we go look at it?" So we took a ride over there, and I went and looked at it, and fired it up, and it ran, and then, now this is 2 years ago. Keep that in, 2 years ago, yeah, maybe more than that, about 2 years ago. Um, and at the time, I fired it up, and betting on the come, I replaced the memory battery while I was there, right? And because the machine had been sitting for a couple of years, but it
Yep.
fired up, all the parameters were there, everything operated right. So I said, you know what? I brought a battery with me. I'm just going to put it in, right? A fresh battery. So I put it in. And then, so she didn't have a number in mind, you know, no price or anything like that. So I went away and I said, okay, well, I'll send you an email, and I'll think about it. And so I did some research on that vintage and da 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 da. So I made her an offer, and anyway, she says, "Oh, no, no, I can't accept that. I was hoping to get 25 grand for this thing," and yada. I go, "Okay, that's fine. Hey, no worries. Um, if something happens and you change your mind or whatever, you got my number. Anyway, thanks for letting me look at it. See you later." So crickets for a year, over a year. Then think I get an email out of the blue. "Hey, you still want that machine?" And this is what I call planting a tree and putting some water on it, right? And so I said, "Yeah, I'm still interested in that machine." And this is right in the middle of me moving. So to heap it on, and the whole move is just a whole nother story, right? And so I went up there and I fired it up again to make sure that it wasn't dead, right? And it fired up. So I paid the lady and I said, "Listen," I said, "it's going to take me a little while to move this, right?" And she says, "Oh yeah, no rush." She got her money, so she was pretty happy, right? And but ultimately they're going to sell the property, and it had to go, right? So anyway, that was so I once I moved up here, I was actually closer to the location of the machine. Before I was 2 hours away. Now I'm only like 45 minutes, right? And so excuse me, I would go over there on the weekends, and I would disconnect it and prep it to move it. And then the timing worked out that Stan Zinkowski from Barzy Industrial was up in the area with his big monster truck. So I said, hey, would you help me move this? He said, oh yeah, sure, no problem. And so anyway, we got it on the trailer and got it back to my place intact. So that's
Cool.
kind of that's the short story with the.
And what's your current status on that machine?
So current status was is I reconnected all the interconnect cabling and all that. I've been cleaning it. The machine was really dirty. I'm replacing a bunch of hoses. So I don't know. I'm probably a month or two away from firing it up and trying to do something on it, and seeing how it performs. I got to buy a bunch of stuff too. Some filters. It's got a deionized water resin exchange system on it, so I have to get a replacement resin exchange thing. So
Yeah.
there's a few things to buy, and it's just one of those projects that you just keep trying to nudge along, right? I don't. It's not like I got some burning job to put on there, although
Was that a joke?
yeah, that
Was
was a joke.
okay, just check.
But I have a bunch of burning friends that have burning jobs that keep pinging me about when is that thing going to run, right? So
I was going to offer to help by giving you a burning job.
yeah, exactly. No, I don't need any jobs. Thank you very much. So
If I could be of any support on that project, let me know. I'm very excited about seeing that up and running.
yeah, well,
And
so am I. In all the shops that I've worked in and companies that I've worked for, I've never had the opportunity to run one myself, right? And I understand the technology, and but like anything, there's tradecraft involved, right?
yep,
And that takes you a while to learn, right? I mean, was when you first got your Okamoto, right? Right, you've done some grinding before, right? But
mm-hmm.
it's not there's tradecraft with every machine and every process, right?
Yes,
And
absolutely,
kind of
yes.
come up to speed on. So I'm looking forward to that because I like learning new stuff, and this allows you to do some things that that little titanium chingus that you showed me.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a job that you can just put in the machine and come back, and there's 20 of them done, right? So if you want, so
if and you want.
if
Yeah,
you
I'm super interested to see how that goes.
yeah.
Um, that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, and
Uh,
to me, it was a price point to be able to get into it, right? I mean, I wasn't going to spend 100 grand on a machine just to play around, right? But I paid $4,000 for that machine, okay, and it came with a phase converter that I didn't need, which I sold for $1,000.
oh, okay.
So I, so I'm in the machine 3 grand plus a trailer rental and some. Yeah, that's right. That's not much money, right? That's like a couple of Flatstones.
That's
And
yes, I do sell my stones. In fact, I will send you a set for $2,000.
oh, thanks. Yeah, great.
No problem. Just a little discount for friends.
I appreciate that.
Sleeping Saloon asks, "Hi Tom, what's the best place to buy your book that best supports Ox Tools?"
It kind of doesn't matter. It's sold through Amazon. You can go to the Industrial Press website and get it there. I still get my little cut, no matter where it gets sold. So thank you though. Thanks for asking. I don't sell them direct. They don't let me sell them direct, and frankly, I don't want to because it's
You
you
know, like
know
another thing, right?
another thing. Putting stuff in a box, printing labels. Hey, I didn't get my thing, or my thing was dented when it showed up. And it's much easier that they handle all the marketing and distribution. And but I do appreciate you asking though. Thanks.
Uh, Mrs. Mabel McMurdy from Parsippany, New Jersey writes, "Can we please have your skirt steak recipe?"
The skirt steak recipe, sure. So Spencer and I were having a pre-podcast drool, and so I make a marinated carne asada that actually I can't take credit for the recipe. I don't know if any of you guys watch Chef John on Food Wishes on YouTube. and he's kind of an entertaining cat. And anyway, he did a recipe that I tweaked a little bit to make carne asada for steak tacos.
Mm.
And so you get I don't know, a couple pounds of skirt steak or any kind of beef that's thinly sliced, and you need an orange, 3 limes, quarter cup of olive oil, 8 cloves of crushed garlic, 1.5 teaspoons of cumin, half teaspoon of Mexican oregano, 1 onion, thinly sliced and chopped, a little bit of kosher salt, some pepper, and a half cup of chopped cilantro.
There it is.
Yeah. And anyway, that goes in a bowl, gets all mixed up. Douse the steak in there, and then what I like to do is put it in a Ziploc bag and exclude all the air. Let it marinate for about 1 to 2 hours, and then grill it. And some corn tortillas, steam, a little bit of chopped onion, chopped cilantro, and there won't be any left.
I'm halfway there, man.
Yeah.
I'm on an airplane.
Yeah.
That's awesome. James Howe asks, along the same lines as the electronic dance music machine project, any update on the Makino?
Yeah, Makino's operational. I can use it anytime I want. I don't have any active projects for it right this second. Like I said, I'm trying not to focus on projects. I'm trying to focus on what I would call infrastructure. Like I put up the forms for a slab to put my new compressor, my large compressor on outside the shop, and so I'm kind of working on infrastructure stuff and focusing on that. Now I am doing some little minor projects that that need doing, right? And or actually there'll be another meatloaf next week, and you guys will get to see some of those things. So
that's called a teaser, I think.
That's a teaser, right?
In the trade.
In the trade.
Well, it's 12 minutes after the hour, and we usually wrap it up at the top of the hour. We have 3 hours more material.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come back anytime. So
that'd be awesome.
But Robin has to go first. So
okay, so Robin. No, I think I now have an announcement to make. Before I make the announcement, John says, Tom, you did a recent shop tour. Where did the metrology section end up?
So the metrology is going to be on the side where the EDM and the milling machine is over there, kind of on that side. That's the intent.
Didn't you have a little room there?
I did. There was a bathroom with a little sub room, but I tore it out.
Okay.
And because it was just really odd space, and this large bathroom that really was a waste of space. And it was a commando toilet anyway. It didn't go to anything. It didn't go to a proper septic. So I was like, yeah, I'd rather have the floor space. And I'm super glad I did what I did. And yeah,
cool.
Yeah, there was a little room that was kind of tied onto that I thought I might use for that. But
so you're gonna have just like a metrology corner.
Yeah, it'll be open. It's not going to be climate controlled or anything fancy like that. So.
Okay. So what I wanted to say is that the technology we've learned how to use for doing this this show, the PFG Live, is we're able to handle 2 guests because Tom's coming in on a Zoom meeting. Mm-hmm. So I would like to get Robin back, and I would like to get you back, and maybe we could have I don't want to say maybe we could have a 3-way, but maybe we could have because I tested this last night, mm-hmm. and it works well. So the message is to all potential guests, get knowledgeable about getting on a Zoom meeting. That's all. Yeah. It's not hard. Most of the world knows about Zoom.
Yeah, I'll just throw out there that for quite a while, Robin and I were having a at least once a month phone call, right? And where we would just kind of talk about projects and it was just kind of a check-in, right? We would check in with each other and whatnot. But I'll tell you, there was some kind of interesting conversation um, in those phone calls, right? Now we both got super busy, so we kind of we haven't been doing it as regularly, right, as we were. But that would certainly be a good starting place, right? Is whoa, hey, what have you been working on? What are you thinking
Yep.
about? What's on your books, right? And or what problem did you have? And those are kind of how those conversations went, right? And so they kind of had the rabbit hole look to them, right? And they could kind of go anywhere,
Yeah.
and they're fun. I enjoy them, Robin. So yeah,
So let's try to get a roundtable going.
yeah.
And I happy to enable it. Oh, Robin says he's in. Excellent. So the prerequisite is just get Zoom competent. It's not hard, and I'm happy to help during the week to get you going, Robin. You could run. You're doing Zoom on your laptop right now.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you could also do it from a phone, although I think the laptop does a slightly better job, but I'm not sure. And then the way it works is we get in and do a little test session and get everything set up, and off we go.
Yeah.
K Bonk says the video bedside reader.
Right.
No kidding. All right, guys. Thanks to everybody who is here. We'll see you guys next week. I see no impediments. Same bad time, same bad channel. Tom, you stay right where you are. Don't push any buttons.
Got it.
And have a great weekend, everybody.
All right,
We'll
guys.
see you
Hey,
next Sunday.
good talking. It's always fun to talk nerd talk. So.